this unfiltered, unbiased sports talk on YouTube.
Hey yo, what's good, YouTube? Boxing enthusiasts, casuals. Yeah, I'm about to do a recap on the weekend of July 18th. We've had a lot of fights, some robberies, some stars in the making, some career enders or possible career enders. Let's start with the little guys. We got Scott Quigg over Kiko Martinez TKO in the second round. Now, Kiko Martinez was a guy that had a nice run, man, a few fights ago. He won the IBF Super Bantamweight title over Jonathan Romero in a surprising knockout win, gave Jonathan Romero his first loss. Then he defends it, knocking out Jeffrey Matabula. He's a tough, rugged fighter, hard guy to KO. And then he defends it one more time against Hazumi Hasagawa, another tough, rugged fighter. Um, and then he runs into that boy Carl Frampton for a second time and gets knocked the fuck out. Or I'm sorry, he loses his decision the second time, I believe. But either way, he loses, right? The problem with Kiko Martinez is he can't win the fights that he's supposed to win. Jonathan Romero, though he was a champion, he still wasn't seen as elite. You know what I'm saying? He was still yet to be tested. Even though he ended up with one of the four, even though he ended up fighting for one of the four major sanctioning bodies, he still remained to be tested. Um, and Kiko Martinez was that test and went in there and laid his ass out flat, right? But I mean, once Kiko Martinez steps up to the elite level, we seen it twice against Carl Frampton, and then we just seen it Saturday night against Scott Quigg. He folds, so he's just out there in the super bantamweight division. I mean, he can move up or down. Um, he's not capped like a heavyweight, but I mean, there's just given his skills, there's really nothing he can do. On the other hand, Scott Quigg is a fucking hot commodity right now, man. Now, Scott Quigg is one of my favorite British fighters, along with Lee Selby, um, George Groves, James DeGale, Carl Frampton. Those are all the Brits that I like right now. Anthony Joshua is looking real nice. Um, Lee Selby, real quick, man. I'm kind of biased towards him because I love the fact that my dude comes into the ring playing to the music of my favorite rapper of all time, Big L. You know what I'm saying? It's that shit is. I'm biased towards him just for that reason alone. But anyway, um, yeah, Scott Quigg, man. Scott Quigg, Carl Frampton, they've had beef for a while now. You know what I'm saying? It's a fight that needs to be made. Actually, Scott Quigg against Guillermo Rigondeaux, Quigg and fucking Lomachenko, Quigg and Walters. Shit, you can even throw Gary Russell Jr. in there. I mean, there's a lot of shit that can be made between 122 and 126. You know what I'm saying? The Scott Quigg and Carl Frampton matchup, which will lead me into my next fight, uh, that's a very intriguing fight given how uh, Carl Frampton's fight against Alejandro Gonzalez went in the first round. Now, Carl Frampton wins that fight by unanimous decision, but he got dropped twice in the first round. Now, the first drop, was a balance issue. It was obvious it was a balance issue. But the second time he got knocked down, that shit was a fucking overhand right, straight to the dome. You know what I'm saying? Knock Carl Frampton down. Now, he has my respect even more because he got up and went on to dominate the rest of that fucking fight. That's why he won by unanimous decision, even though he had a 10-7 round in the first round. You know what I'm saying? Uh, but given the fact that this guy that nobody fucking knows and has already had two losses against a prospect and a bum, you know what I'm saying? And he went in there and gave Carl Frampton all he could give him in the first round and actually was successful to that degree, it makes the Scott Quigg matchup even more fruitful, along with the long-standing beef that these guys have had. You know what I'm saying? Um, I don't think Carl Frampton's ready for Guillermo Rigondeaux. Too much speed, too much in and out movement, too much defense. Um, if he was off balance against Alejandro Gonzalez, he's definitely going to be off balance against a fucking Guillermo Rigondeaux. Same thing with Lomachenko. Too much angles that he gives. He turns his opponents like the best of them. Too much hand speed. Same thing there. If he was off balance against Gonzalez, he will definitely be off balance against Lomachenko. Now, a fight that I would like to see, a guy that has very fast hands. He has moderate power, not KO power, but he has overwhelming type power. But his foot speed is something that leaves to be desired. Is Gary Russell Jr. Now he's not a guy that will probably leave Carl Frampton off balance due to his footwork and his ability to throw connect with hard shots. Um, that's an excellent fight. I would love to see Carl Frampton versus Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell has a belt at 122 or 126, excuse me. But yeah, that's an excellent fight. I would love to see that fight. Carl Frampton's already talking about moving up to 126. Um, and a lot of people think that's him trying to avoid Scott Quigg. Either way, it's only 4 pounds. I think Scott Quigg would just follow his ass right up there to 126. If they can't make the Scott Quigg fight, go ahead, please make that Gary Russell fight. Moving along, another guy that's looking to get a Scott Quigg fight after his win over Anthony Satal in the second round TKO is Nonito Donaire. Now, this fight went relatively unseen, unknown. A lot of people didn't know about it. Only reason why I knew is because I streamed the shit out of fights. You know what I'm saying? I don't watch nothing on cable television or satellite. I stream every fucking thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I was able to get this fight. Um, Nonito Donaire went in there and did what he was supposed to do against a guy that wasn't supposed to beat him, straight up. So I mean, I still see the same things with Nonito Donaire. He still has the same defensive problem. He still uh, waits to load up on that left hook, that left hand, which is devastating if he lands that shit. Just ask Nicholas Walters, but he still tries to load up on that left hand. So I mean, I really don't see anything new with Nonito Donaire. And he right now he's trying to get the Scott Quigg fight. Um, that's probably out of all the guys that are in his division and under his division, that's probably the best fight for him of the elite. Um, if I'm looking at Nicholas Walters, Lomachenko, Carl Frampton, Guillermo Rigondeaux, and Scott Quigg will be the weakest link, along with Gary Russell Jr. That could be another fight that he could be looking at trying to get. Um, but I mean, he knocked the Sital guy down twice in the second round and once in the first round. But once again, like I said, I mean, it's hardly impressive when it's against a guy that you're supposed to do that to. Um, moving along, we had Amir Imam over Fernando Angulo KO in the fourth round. Now, this dude, a lot of people are jumping the gun on Amir Imam. Granted, this motherfucker is extra talented. You know what I'm saying? He reminds me of a lower level type Terrence Crawford. You know what I'm saying? He can bang with you and he can box you. And he even has a nice little shoulder roll to him. It's not like Floyd Mayweather or James Toney type level of shoulder roll, but he has a nice little shoulder roll. He picks off shots with his shoulder. It's nice. You know what I'm saying? But I'm hearing after this performance, I'm hearing a lot of people say that he's one of the best junior welterweights out there, and he's better than Adrian Broner. Now, granted, Adrian Broner's career is in limbo right now, but I wouldn't go this far. He's still a prospect to me. Reason being, Fernando Angulo was a cat with 9 fucking losses. You know what I'm saying? The motherfucker had as many losses as we got fingers, almost. You know what I'm saying? So he was only knocked out one time in them 9 losses, which means he's a tough, rugged fighter. And Amir Iman went in there and did something that only one other person was able to do in 9 losses. But it doesn't matter to me. The cat is still a fucking cab driver. He's a carpenter. He's a landscaper. You know what I'm saying? He's a bum. 9 losses. That's too many of them. You know what I'm saying? So only motherfucker that can get away with that right now is Orlando Salido. I think he has like 13 losses, but he's still fighting at a high level. You know what I'm saying? This guy's not. So I'm not sold on him just because of this performance. Also, because a few fights ago he struggled against Fidel Maldonado Jr., where we saw him get knocked down by a hook in the third round. Now, granted, he went on to win by stoppage, and he knocked Maldonado Jr. down 3 fucking times in that fight, but he still got knocked down. I mean, it's the same thing. My criticism on Errol Spence. I think Errol Spence is one of the best fighters in boxing right now, or one of the best prospects in boxing right now. But he still got hurt against a bum journeyman in Phil Logreco. You know what I'm saying? You can't erase what happened. Same thing with Amiri Mon. You can't erase Maldonado Jr. dropping him. And then basically, on top of that, it was due to the pressure. Now, Mary Mom was lined up against the ropes, pop shotting and shit with a shoulder roll, but Maldonado Jr. was still able to land his hooks, and he was still hurting a Mary Mom. So I'm not sold on him being the best 140 pounder. I do think he gives people problems, but I don't think they should throw him in there with the best 140 pounders just yet, because he will take a loss. Get him a couple more fights. Don King, is promoting him, one of the few fighters that is still under the Don King banner, and he actually called out Floyd Mayweather for a Mary Mom. I mean, that's a joke. You know what I'm saying? It's obvious that they're trying to market a Mary Mom off of Floyd Mayweather's name. And it's a good tactic for him to do, but my advice is slow your roll, brother. Go ahead and get some fights under your belt. You know what I'm saying? Fight some more Fidel Maldonado Juniors, but this time look very impressive. I don't want to see any problems with your defense, when you fight a step up into a gatekeeper or a contender. Let's move along. Next fight, McJoe Arroyo over Arthur Villanueva. Technical decision in the 12th. Technical decision. So we move into the robbery of the robbers of all robbers. Good old fucking Texas, man. The most corrupt boxing commission in all of boxing. Now, this is for the IBF Super Flyweight title. It's a vacant title. Um, Early, McJoe Arroyo, you know what I'm saying, he was getting at his opponent. He was getting at Villanueva. He was getting on the inside. Um, he was pushing Villanueva back. Villanueva had no answers on his back foot early in the fight, but then he adjusted and he put in some beautiful body work on McJoe Arroyo, pretty much negating McJoe Arroyo's ability to apply pressure. And even when he tried to, he was pumping that fucking jab beautifully and catching Arroyo with some nice counter punches, some nice counter straight right hands. I mean, the second half of the fight, there's no way you can give more rounds to McJoe Arroyo than Arthur Villanueva. Now, the fight was stopped due to a head clash that was caused by Arroyo, but then we saw one of the most ridiculous point deductions of the night, and that was when referee Rafael Ramos took a point away from Villanueva for the head clash that, mind you, Villanueva was cut in, that was caused by McJoe Arroyo leading his fucking head. The most ridiculous point deduction I saw all night. You know what I'm saying? Worse than the Chavez Jr. point deduction I'll get, or the point deduction of Chavez Jr. fight that I'll get to in a minute. But man, dude, this fight was literally the battle of the amateurs, man. I mean, I've never been high on McJoe Arroyo. I always thought he was a C-level fighter, and pretty much my claim is supported. And after watching this fight, I mean, he is the IBF Super Flyweight champion, but now that means you have to fight guys that are real contenders, that are elite in your division, and he will take a L. He won't hold that belt much longer if he's fighting elite competition. If he continues to defend his title against C-class level fighters like Kell Brooks doing in the welterweight division right now, well then, he may stay champion. But if he fights an elite fighter, he's done. Go ahead and give up that belt, dog. You know what I'm saying? But in this fight, I had McJoe Arroyo winning by 1 point. And that's with the point deduction. If the point was never deducted, it'd be a draw on my scorecard, which was perfectly in line with what Steve Farhood had, which is not a surprise. I mean, it's amazing. Whenever I'm watching a Showtime fight and I'm scoring the fight, Steve Farhood is scoring the fight, our scorecards at the end of the night, they're always fucking identical. I mean, it never fucking fails, dude. It never fails. But the robbers of the night, Larry Hazard, Levy Martinez, aka Canelo's judge, because in two fights that Canelo obviously lost, Austin Trout, and even more fucking obvious. I'm sorry, not Austin Trout. One fight that he lost um, against Erislandy Lara, which was complete robbery. Levi Martinez had Canelo winning 117, 111. The Austin Trout fight, it was Stanley Christodoulou that had Canelo winning 119 and 108. Just complete travesty. But anyway, Levi Martinez is one of two Canelo judges. And then John Stewart, respectively, they had it 98, 91, and then 97, 92. Basically, two judges only gave Villanueva two fucking rounds, which I just explained. There's no way in hell after in the second half of the fight you can give more rounds to McJoe Arroyo than you do Villanueva. He did some beautiful body work, some beautiful jab work and counterpunch work on McJoe Arroyo, pretty much negating that dude's game plan for the rest of the fight, man. It's complete ridiculous, and even it was so ridiculous that the usually level-headed Al Bernstein had a fucking Teddy Atlas moment. I mean, he pretty much, I'm gonna translate into the God language real quick. Pretty much, he said, "There's no motherfucking way that any fucking judge could have this fight at those wide ass margins that those fucking judges put in as the scorecards. There's no way." And I agree. I mean, another Texas fucking robbery. Let's move along. Chris Arreola versus Fred Kasai. Now, this fight was a majority draw. I gave Arreola four fucking rounds, man. And that's being nice. That's just being nice. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the boxing forums that I'm involved in, uh, they were saying that some of the guys on there were saying they only gave Arreola two fucking rounds. You know what I'm saying? And I'm okay with that. You feel me? Now, two judges had it a draw. The other judge had it for Chris Arreola. Complete fucking robbery, man. Complete fucking robbery. There's no way Chris Arreola beat Fred Kasai. There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way this fight could have been a draw. I mean, Chris Arreola was completely outclassed. I mean, he looked like a fat. I mean, he just, dog, just this motherfucker disgusts me, man. Just fat all over the ring. You know what I'm saying? And basically, this fight was supposed to determine Deontay Wilder's next opponent. Now, I don't know how they're going to do the whole Alexander Povetkin being Deontay Wilder's mandatory. I guess they're going to wait for that for next year. I don't know. But his next opponent should be Fred Kasai, straight up. You know what I'm saying? And Deontay Wilder go ahead and knock this motherfucker out within four. You know what I'm saying? But Chris Arreola does not deserve a fight with fucking Deontay Wilder. And I can respect him because he actually acknowledged that his performance was so terrible that he doesn't deserve the fight when later asked in a post-fight interview. But like I said, he's just not ready. And in my opinion, I think Chris Ariel needs to hang him up. Now, what I said earlier about Kiko Martinez, about him being able to move up and down, he can't beat the guys that he's supposed to beat, the elite fighters of his division. So if a division like the one he's in right now with Scott Quigg and Carl Frampton has guys that are elite at the top level that are pretty much hoarding the belts that he wants, and he can't beat those guys, well, he can move up and down. Not the same case for Chris Arreola, you know what I'm saying? This motherfucker is all of 260 fucking pounds, you know? I mean, he's a big fat taco bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit eating motherfucker, man. I mean, this motherfucker is fat as fuck, you know what I'm saying? He couldn't fast his way down to a fucking cruiserweight. He couldn't do it. This motherfucker not eat for 3 months, he would still be over 200 fucking pounds. That's how fucking fat he is. I mean, a complete disgrace to the sport. I mean, he may take training. I mean, he may say he's taking training seriously, and if the cameras are in his training camp, we're only seeing what he's showing the cameras. Off camera, we see how he is off camera when he shows up to fucking weigh-ins. Just fat as fuck, flabby. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we could chop some fat off this motherfucker's back and throw that shit on a grill, straight up, man. I mean, it's fucking disgusting. You know what I'm saying? But he cannot move up and down in weight, so he's capped at the heavyweight division. And there is no more super heavyweight where he can go up and just batter the fuck out of Butterbean or somebody like that. That doesn't exist anymore. The top guys, Deontay Wilder and Vladimir Klitschko right now, the only two guys that are holding all four of the major sanctioning bodies at the heavyweight division, those guys will fucking completely annihilate this guy. So there's really no reason for him to be fighting until one of those guys retires or gives up the belt. Shit, even if Tyson Fury beats Vladimir Klitschko in November, he will then now hold three of the four major sanctioning bodies, and he will fucking destroy Chris Arreola. You know what I'm saying? So unless he's broke and he needs to fight for the money, then that's the only time we'll condone this motherfucker not retiring, man. I mean, it just makes perfect sense. He can't beat the guys in his division. He can't beat the top guys in his division. Basically, he can't even beat the journeymans in his fucking division, as we just saw on Saturday. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, there's no reason for him to keep going unless he's broke. Moving along. Texas robbery number 3. Chavez Jr. versus Marco Reyes. Unanimous decision in 10 rounds. Now, watching this fight, I had Chavez Jr. winning by 1 point. You know what I'm saying? Now, this was the second most ridiculous point deduction I seen of the night. Probably this is the only, this one and the other point deduction, the only two of the night. But they're fucking, I mean, it was ridiculous. This is a perfect example of how Chavez Jr. had the referee in his pocket out there in Texas. This motherfucker hit Marco Reyes below the belt, right, early in the fight. Clearly hit this motherfucker in the dick. Clearly, alright? Referee goes in there, hey, Marco Reyes, get your 5 minutes, dog. Word up, word up. Marco Reyes gets his 5 minutes. Well, Marco Reyes goes a little low, nowhere near as blatant as Chavez Jr. did to him early in the fight, right? And this motherfucker just full blown drama queen, just full blown bitch mode. You know what I'm saying? This motherfucker bitch moaned and complained his way into uh, persuading the referee to eventually take a point away from Marco Reyes without a fucking warning. No fucking warning. No warning. In boxing, referees usually give the fighter warning. Hey, you hit low again, I'm going to take a point. None of that. Skipped all that shit. You know what I'm saying? In the beginning, when it actually happened, when it actually happened, and what followed was a head clash, which was Chavez Jr.'s fault as well, because in the replay he was leading with his head. He was bitching and moaning about both of those, but he started throwing his fist at the referee or his glove at the referee, and the referee at the time he didn't know what to fucking do. You know what I'm saying? He sent Marco Reyes to a neutral corner, but then it was kind of like he was gonna go back and give Chavez Jr. 5 minutes. Go over there and talk to him, ask him if he's okay. What a referee's supposed to do. When he does that, Chavez Jr. is basically bitching and moaning and complaining. We don't know what he said, but he's saying some shit to the referee, and his body language, he's throwing his glove up in the air, and he's like, go, basically saying, go fucking do something about it. So the referee leaves Chavez Jr., goes and takes Marco Reyes' hand, and fucking takes a point away from him. Complete fucking bullshit, man. Complete fucking bullshit. And that's the only reason why I had Chavez Jr. winning, because we have to account for the point deduction. If there was no point deduction, I had this fucking fight a draw, right? Now, the three judges had the fight 98 to 91, 97 and 92, and 96 and 93. Now, the 96 and 93 I can understand. It depends on what type of fight you're watching. Um, he pretty much, Chavez Jr. landed a lot of the power shots, while Marco Reyes was the more busier fighter, landing a lot of jabs, a lot of straights, going to the body, just keeping Chavez Jr.'s big ass honest. You know what I'm saying? But uh, 96, 93 is acceptable. 98, 91, 97, 92 is fucking ridiculous. Marco Reyes put in a lot more work in that fight. He deserved a lot more fucking rounds in that fight. Just a complete fucking robbery. Complete fucking robbery. Bottom line, Chavez Jr. looked like shit. You know what I'm saying? He looked like shit. Robert Garcia isn't doing anything for him, but it's not Robert Garcia's fault. You know what I'm saying? Chavez Jr. is who he fucking is. It doesn't matter who is in his corner. It doesn't fucking matter. Just like Adrian Broner, he is who he is. We cannot give these motherfuckers attributes, you know what I'm saying, and basically say that, hey, they're good enough to do this, and they will do it at one point, basically neglecting or negating their personality. You know what I'm saying? Their personality is who they are. They'll never get to that fucking level where they're actually exercising the talents that you and I may think we see in both these guys because their attitudes aren't straight. You know what I'm saying? Chavez Jr., you this motherfucker be getting blunted. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know what I'm saying? He fights in training camp for like half the fucking, or he takes the training camp seriously for half the training camp. I mean, he's never been serious about boxing. I mean, this dude is a complete fucking disgrace, and I got a roast episode for this motherfucker. He's a complete fucking disgrace, right? We all remember his father, one of the best fighters in the history of boxing, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., right? But we're all going to remember Chavez Jr. just as much because of the bad image he inflicted on his father's name, right? I mean, he made his father's name look bad. You know what I'm saying? And that's always going to be a tag that goes along with Chavez Sr. We're going to talk Chavez Sr. and we're going to be like, oh, yeah, y'all remember his son? That fucking bitch? You know what I'm saying? That motherfucker that was in the back, you know what I'm saying, in the locker room right before his ring entrance getting blunted and shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I feel bad for Chavez Sr., man, because he does all he can for this bitch ass motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? This spoiled ass brat that doesn't deserve a dime of what the fuck he makes in the boxing game. You know, complete, perfect example of a motherfucker born with a silver spoon in his mouth, man. Straight up. But anyway, I'm ranting. Anyway, but articles have come out that he still believes that he can make 168 pounds. This motherfucker didn't even disclose his weight, the time of the night of the fight, because and once again, guys in the boxing forums that I'm a part of, they've put up there basically saying that he's every bit of 190 pounds, which I fucking totally agree with. And I basically commented that he should be fighting a Marco Huck. You know what I'm saying? A motherfucking Guillermo Diaz and shit, or whatever that motherfucker's name that holds the WBA cruiserweight title. Uh, I mean, he should be fighting them motherfuckers right now, trying to get Roy Jones Jr. in the ring and shit. You know what I'm saying? He's a straight up light heavyweight cruiserweight, and the funny shit is, BoxRec has him listed right now as a light heavyweight, even though this fight was at super middleweight. It was supposed to be. I mean, that BoxRec just completely ignored this motherfucker being this fight being at super middleweight. It was like, nah, this motherfucker's obviously a light heavyweight. That's where we're gonna put him at. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and the icing on the cake to this shit, man. Andres Fonfara tweets that basically, and I'm gonna go ahead and translate into God mode again. Fonfara says this, yeah, congratulations on your fight, on your win, you know what I'm saying? But shit, if you ever give me that opportunity again, you want another rematch, I won't hesitate to get in that motherfucking ass a second time. It's basically what Fonfara said, translated into God mode. You know what I'm saying? Chavez Jr. complete fucking disgrace, man. Let's move along. Now, this next fight is probably the biggest upset of the weekend. Heavyweights Erkan Tepper knocks out David Price in the second round. And when I mean knock out, I mean David Price's head was underneath the fucking turnbuckle, yo. Like this motherfucker was halfway out the ring, dude. And to be honest with you, it's a surprise in the boxing world because the UK had David Price so fucking high at one point. And it was one of them situations just like us in America with Adrian Broner. Again, it's one of them situations where he loses convincingly, and then we give him another shot because we think he has the ability to be great, right? And that's what the UK's did with David Price. This fight was for the EBU light heavyweight title. It was for the European title that nobody really gives a fuck about. You know what I'm saying? You bring that shit to America, we don't give a fuck about that. You can have the EBU title. You won't be anybody's mandatory that holds the four major sanctioning bodies. You won't be a mandatory for any of those guys unless you just out there just laying motherfuckers flat. And Deontay Wilder or Vladimir Klitschko, they're like, oh, he's knocking motherfuckers out. Okay, I'll give him a shot. That's the only way. You know what I'm saying? Now, to Tepper's defense, he can crack. You know, he's an undefeated prospect. He's now 15 and 0 with 10 knockouts. Before he was 14 and 0 with 9 KOs. He can crack. You know what I'm saying? That's mostly the heavyweight division. Ain't too many, you know what I'm saying, Chris Bird's in the heavyweight division right now. Ain't too many Eddie Chambers in the heavyweight division, motherfuckers that can't crack. You know what I'm saying? Usually now if you in the heavyweight division, you're gonna get knocked the fuck out if you don't guard your chin properly. Um but and that's always been David Price's problem. I remember back in the day, man, they had David Price held so high that they were talking about a David Price and Tyson Fury fight, and I was in the minority back then when I was like, no, 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 don't do that, because Tyson Fury will knock this motherfucker out. I mean, David Price is so stiff. It's like he's standing in cement, and then somebody came and poured cement on top of his ass. That's how stiff this motherfucker is, man. And then while he's stiff, he's so slow with his punching, and then he doesn't brings his hand back into a defensive posture to where thus he's leaving himself wide the fuck open to get countered or to get hit with a shot over the top of any of his shots, and then he doesn't have a fucking chin on top of that. You know what I'm saying? No defense, stiff with no chin spells fucking disaster, yo. And that's why in both the Tony Thompson fights, I had him winning. I won money on both those fucking fights because I knew old ass Tony Thompson would go in there and knock out David Price. I already fucking knew it based on what David Price looked like in his previous fights, man. I fucking knew it. Basically, David Price is done. And the funny shit is, he was talking. I was watching a Sky Sports broadcast. As I said before, I stream all the fights. And by the way, Sky Sports is up there with Showtime, one of the best broadcasters in the boxing world. You know what I'm saying? I love watching Sky Sports. Way better than HBO. I can have a HBO stream and a Sky Sports stream. I'm picking the Sky Sports stream by default. I mean, it's automatic. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I forgot what fight I was watching, but David Price was a guest, and they pretty much. I think it was the Deontay Wilder's last fight actually. David Price was a guest, and he basically said in the God mode translation, yeah, you know, Deontay Wilder, you know, he didn't look too good in this fight, you know, you know, he's never seen a guy like me. He said something to that degree, and I'm fucking laughing at the TV because I'm like, dog, Deontay Wilder would knock your bitch ass out before you even get in the ring. You know what I'm saying? Like he'll knock you. Shannon Briggs will knock you out. Tyson Fury will knock you out. Vladimir Klitschko will knock you out. Chris Areola will probably knock you out. Bermain Stavern knocks you out. Shit, I'm even willing to go, and yes, I'm about to say it. Seth motherfucking Mitchell will knock you out. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this motherfucker's done. I don't know what he did before he was a boxer, but he needs to go back to doing that shit. You know what I'm saying? And this motherfucker was an accountant. You know what I'm saying? Motherfucker was. He looked like he could be like a lawyer or a doctor or some shit. He looked like he'd be a surgeon or some shit. If the motherfucker was working at Walmart or the UK local grocery stores, the motherfucker need to go back to stocking shit on that top shelf, man. Because this boxing career is done. Moving along. And this will be the last breakdown of the video. And I saved the best for last. This was the fight of the night for me. We had Arthur Abraham knocking out Robert Stieglitz in the sixth round, pretty much ending their saga with a motherfucking exclamation point. Now, I love this shit, man. I love this shit because when I made the roast of Gennady Golovkin, I had some casuals on my motherfucking comment section basically uh, chastising me for saying that Arthur Abraham was an A-level fighter. When I pretty much broke down Andre Ward's accomplishments of him beating Arthur Abraham, this right here gives you the perfect fucking evidence that Arthur Abraham is a fucking A-level fighter, man. I mean, this dude basically beat one of the best fighters in his division. Robert Stieglitz is a great fighter. You know what I'm saying? He's a two-time WBO champion, and he lost both his titles or both reigns of the title to the same man, Arthur Abraham. You know what I'm saying? These guys fought four times. In the first fight, was unanimous decision for Arthur Abraham. The second fight, it was a TKO victory for Robert Stieglitz, and this tells you how good Robert Stieglitz is. It wasn't a lay this motherfucker out flat like David Price type of knockout. You know what I'm saying? If you put in Arthur Abraham's name in Google and look at the images on the right side when the page pops up, there is an image of him looking at the camera with his left eye completely fucking closed and it's all bubbly and shit. That was a fight against Robert Stieglitz. They pretty much stopped the fight because his eye was completely so swollen shut. They stopped it due to injury. And it was because of that fucking lightning fast jab that Robert Stieglitz possesses. Stieglitz will give problems to a lot of fighters in the super middleweight and the middleweight division. Not ready to say light heavyweight because I don't think he's a big super middleweight. But if he goes down to middleweight or he stays at super middleweight, he can give a lot of these fighters problems. You know what I'm saying? He's a good fighter. Now, after the knockout, Arthur Abraham in the third fight, he wins by split decision, and then he puts an exclamation point on the fourth one with a TKO in the sixth round. And the way he knocked this motherfucker out was just beautiful. A testament to his ability. He hurts him to the body, right? And as he hurts him to the body, Robert Stieglitz gets low as he looks as if he's going to take a knee, but he doesn't. He's just getting low. He's just kind of crouching. At that point, Arthur Abraham is still open. He's still wide open because he's actually getting ready to throw that right hook, which is ultimately the motherfucker that knocks him out, right? So he's still wide open as he's coming forward. He's still waiting. He's waiting. Stieglitz, he now comes forward, still in that crouch position, and he's got his hands all the way up to his head in that defensive position, pretty much guarding his head. But as he's crouched over, as soon as he gets within range, Arthur Abraham throws a right hook right behind the guard, hits him flush on the fucking temple. And the beautiful thing about this, as he throws that right hook, he steps back or he jumps back out of the way of whatever Robert Stieglitz will try to retaliate with. But of course, he couldn't retaliate because the punch was so flush and so fucking accurate. It just knocked him out. Now, the beautiful thing about this sequence was that Arthur Abraham's power is so much that he threw a knockout shot while he was jumping backwards. Come on, man. That's a fucking testament to this man's power. Not only does he have power in both fucking hands, he has that high peekaboo guard and he fights behind a jab in some cases, which kind of it pretty much stumps his opponent because he can be a slugger, right? He could come in wide open and try to knock you the fuck out, which is what he was doing against Edison Miranda, or he can outbox you, or he can try to, or he can stay on the outside and throw and fight from behind a jab. I don't want to say outbox anybody, but he can appear to be a boxer because he can fight behind a jab, behind the high peekaboo guard, something kind of like Winky Wright, but not exactly like Winky Wright. Don't twist my words. But he can also be high volume, and then at times he can just be like, oh, I'm not throwing any punches, and then all of a sudden just fucking start exploding, man. This dude is A level, and it's because he's unorthodox. It's because he has power in both hands, and he's still fighting at a high level at the age of 35. You know what I'm saying? Now, my next point, dude is extra fucking tough. Now, he has four losses. He was KO'd against Robert Stieglitz, but like I said, it wasn't a land mount flat type of KO. You know what I'm saying? It was an injury due to a stoppage due to injury, right? But he's been injured more than that. In the first Edison Miranda fight, this motherfucker had a broken jaw. Once again, type in Arthur Abraham in Google, go to images, and you'll see images of this motherfucker's jaw like pushed all the way to the left side of his face. It was like one of them old ass typewriters and shit. You know what I'm saying? When you typing and the top of the typewriter goes all the way to the left and it clicks and then you gotta push that bitch back all the way to the right before you start typing again. That's what this motherfucker's jaw looked like, yo. Real talk. You know what I'm saying? And then he couldn't close his mouth because his jaw is all the way to the left side of his fucking face. So he's got his mouth open. All this blood is falling out of his fucking mouth and it's getting all over his chest. And this motherfucker still went 12 rounds and he still won the fight. Not only did he do that, he immediately rematched Edison Miranda and then knocked him the fuck out. I mean, this dude is A level, man. He's A fucking level. I would love to see him against Gennady Golovkin. I would love to see that fight. Now, at first glance, not looking at any training camps, just going off of what I know about both fighters, I would pick Gennady Golovkin to win, but I think it would be a close fight because Golovkin's not a boxer. He's not a boxer at all. He has a boxer. He employs a boxer puncher style, but the real meat of his game is he's a slugger. He likes to get on the inside. He likes to pin you up against the ropes where he throws a whole bunch of flurries, flurry after flurry, right? But he implies a boxer puncher style because he can come behind a jab just to fight his way back into the inside and push you back up to the ropes, or he starts feigning and then he'll throw a bomb to get you up against the ropes. So, but he will he will not outbox Robert Stieglitz. I mean, I'm sorry, Arthur Abraham, and that's the losses that Arthur Abraham has. They're against all boxers. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think that fight will be fucking intriguing. I don't think Golovkin will be able to hit Arthur Abraham as flush as we would think he would because of that high peekaboo guard that Arthur Abraham has. But at the same time, I think that would make Arthur Abraham lose if he went in there with that high peekaboo guard and let Golovkin just tee off on him. And then again, like I said, he's a bigger man than Golovkin, and he has power in both fucking hands. That's a very intriguing matchup, dude. I would love to see that shit. But right now, Arthur Abrams probably doesn't have any interest in fighting Golovkin. He's not talking about Golovkin. I did a search on both fighters being matched up, and the last article that was published about these two matching up was 2013. You know what I'm saying? So that's a fantasy fight that I would like to see. But right now, Arthur Abraham's looking to unify the belts at 168, and he's currently the WBO super middleweight champion. Um, I'm okay with that. There's definitely more people at 168 than there is at 160. At 168, you got Andre Durrell. Even though I don't think Andre Durrell will be looking to fight him again after this, after Arthur Abraham basically knocked this motherfucker's eye socket to the back of his brain and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like he pretty much gave this motherfucker a 2 year migraine. I don't think Durrell would ever get in the ring with Arthur Abraham again under any circumstances. But there's Andre Ward as a rematch there. We got the newly crowned James DeGale. You know what I'm saying? there's some good fights in 168. Um, so I'm okay with that. But this is going to conclude the recap. Let me know what y'all think. Do you think David Price's career is over? Do you think Chris Arreola should hang him up since he has no chance against any of the elite fighters in this division? Do you think Amiri Mom is better than Adrian Broner? That's something I'm actually can't wait to hear feedback on people's opinion of Amiri Mom. Um, do what you do in the comments section, but be real. This is real talk for real fans. One.